I didn't realize how much I'd been rehearsing those dinners until the moment I stopped. Everything about that evening felt familiar in the way routines do, when they've been repeated past the point of comfort. My mother moving between the kitchen and table like she owned the rhythm of the room. My sister's kids orbiting her, loud, forgiven before they even did anything wrong. My son sitting closer to me than usual, trying to match their energy but never quite landing inside it. He knocked over a glass, not dramatically, just enough for a ripple, liquid, then silence, then the kind of attention that lingers too long. "It's okay," I said, already reaching for napkins. My mother didn't say anything then. She didn't need to. The rest of the dinner continued in that careful way people maintain when something small has already been decided. My son spoke less. I felt it, but I didn't interrupt the flow. I told myself I was keeping things smooth. Dessert came out like it always did, ceremonial. My mother placing slices with a kind of quiet precision, deciding portions without announcing it. My niece got one. My nephew got one. Then seconds, because they asked loudly enough. My son waited. I knew he was waiting because he glanced at me once, quick, like he didn't want to make it a thing. When he finally asked, my mother didn't even look at him fully. "There's none left for you," she said, almost gently. "You didn't earn it after the way you acted." It wasn't the words. It was how easily they fit into the room. No one corrected her. No one even shifted. I felt something tighten, not sharp, not sudden, just familiar. Like a thread pulled the same way too many times. I didn't argue. Not because I agreed. Just because I understood the cost of arguing in that room. It never stayed about the moment. It expanded, twisted, became something else I'd have to carry later. My son nodded. That was the part that stayed with me. Not confusion, not protest. Just acceptance, like he'd already learned the rules I kept pretending weren't there. I stood up, reached for his coat. "We're heading out," I said. My mother paused, a plate still in her hand. "Already?" "Yeah." No one stopped us. That was almost worse. Outside, the air felt colder than it should have. My son didn't say anything while I helped him with his sleeves. He didn't ask about the dessert. He didn't ask why we were leaving early. On the drive home, he fell asleep before we reached the highway. I kept thinking about how quiet he'd been. How quickly he'd adjusted. Like this wasn't new. At 10:13, my phone lit up. A message from my father: "Transfer the mortgage tomorrow." No greeting, no reference to the night. Just that, for a second I thought it was unrelated. Timing, coincidence. But even as I tried to give it that distance, it didn't hold. It sat too cleanly beside everything else. I didn't respond right away. I drove the rest of the way home with the message unopened again. Like maybe not looking at it would change what it meant. After I carried my son inside and settled him into bed, I sat at the kitchen table with my phone in front of me. The mortgage wasn't new. It had always been framed as temporary, a way to help. A bridge between things that never quite got named. Over time it stopped being discussed at all. It just existed. Like an extension of obligation that didn't need explaining. I'd never questioned it. Not really. Family helps family. That was the language. But sitting there, the night still fresh in my chest, it didn't feel like help anymore. It felt aligned. Structured. Like something that had always carried more weight on one side than the other. I thought about the table. The dessert. The way my son had accepted being measured and found lacking without anyone pushing back. I thought about how quickly I had chosen silence. And then I thought about what I was still choosing. My father's message wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. It assumed continuation, compliance. The same quiet agreement I'd been holding for years. I opened the banking app, not immediately. I hovered there longer than I expected, long enough to feel the pull of habit. The ease of just doing what I'd always done, telling myself I'd figure the rest out later, but the thing about later is that it never actually arrives. It just keeps borrowing from the same place. I closed the app. That was it. No speech. No explanation drafted in my head. Just a decision that didn't need to be witnessed to be real. I picked up my phone and typed back, "I won't be continuing the payments." I stared at it for a moment before sending it, not waiting for the perfect wording. Just enough clarity that it couldn't be mistaken. The response didn't come right away. The house was quiet. My son slept down the hall, unaware of any of it. That mattered more than I expected. When my phone finally buzzed again, I didn't rush to check it. For the first time, it didn't feel urgent, whatever came next. Questions, anger, distance. I understood it would come, not as punishment, just as consequence. I leaned back in the chair, the weight of it settling in a way that wasn't entirely comfortable, but also not unfamiliar. Somewhere between leaving that table and sitting here, something had shifted, not loudly, but enough.